Hello and welcome to Marvel Character Talk. We're going to take another look through a classic comic, Silver Age, Amazing Spider-Man. This issue is significant for a couple of reasons. First, it marks the first issue where sturdy Steve Ditko is gone and replaced by John Romita. And then in this issue, Green Goblin finds out Peter Parker's secret identity, and then Peter finds out who the Green Goblin is. They just introduced Norman Osborn a couple of issues ago in issue 37. This is a very classic cover. Let's take a look at it here. The condition of it. Not sure what this would be. Maybe a 5. I don't know. And if pressing would help, it's got some sort of a little bit of dimples and things on it. Take a quick look at the back. The standard ad there. The back is a little bit rougher than the front, so I guess if you're going to have one way or the other, it's better that it's on the back. Another Marvel First, Spidey and the Green Goblin, both unmasked. Yeah, so the story goes... There we go, the date, 1966, August cover date, so it was on 3 months behind that. And I'd forgotten on this, they didn't really call out, ooh, new artwork, welcoming Johnny Romita. But they didn't. Stan and Steve had a falling out over the years, and then they weren't even talking to each other, and there's some type of story that they couldn't agree on who the Green Goblin was going to be, and whatever, and he left. So he just started setting up Harry Osborn in college and Gwen Stacy, and in Cameo where you don't see her, Mary Jane, and then introducing Norman Osborn. So then he had to take over and then draw them, and then people much more remember how these characters look. But John draws them than Ditko. Very cool. Take a look here. That's very classic, where he's hiding behind that. I think in Spider-Man 14, they had a similar panel where he was in that. And he's got new improved pumpkin bombs and his flying broomstick, more commonly known as the Goblin glider. So there's Amita's first drawing inside of Spider-Man. The first Peter Parker. Much rounded looking, different art style. They mentioned that this artist had done a lot of romance comics and so forth. It was a slightly different style. And then he goes in there because he's got a cold. The doctor says, oh, and so forth, don't worry about Aunt May because you don't want to give her any shocks. She's in a weakened condition, so he's always got to worry about what's going to happen and always worrying about Aunt May. Here's the ad. By this time, they only had one cover ad. They always usually did the Fantastic Four. There's the Black Panther, Thor in the Netherworld with Hercules, and then they were already starting to reprint their earliest comics. There's Gwen Stacy and Flash. There's Norman and Harry. He's always short with him. Always kind of annoyed with him. So there's usually a fair amount of Peter Parker in these issues. Here he's kind of getting a little bit of to know Harry better instead of just having Harry be mean to him, like Flash is usually mean to him. And Gwen Stacy's coming around to liking him more. So we've got a plot that the Green Goblin set up with these gangster goons, and so there's a lot of action, fighting, banter with them. Oh, and they say they got to use the gimmick. What's the gimmick? So they got something from Green Goblin to throw at him, some type of gas, and there he is looking and listening. It's going to dull his spider sense, weaken it, so he can spy on him. There he is, changing. Green Goblin observes it. His spider sense isn't telling him he's there, but he's still thinking there's something wrong. He didn't know he was going to be such a kid. He goes on this page. Incredible, just a kid. Can't be more than 19 or 20. He goes to the Daily Bugle, so he's waiting outside. There's Ned Leeds. They were still talking about Betty Brant there. There's the first classic J. Jonah Jameson by Jazzy Johnny Romita. Trying to sell him some of his photographs. He's always cheap. He's listening in, so he hears his name, Peter Parker, and he follows him going home and confronts him. So this is his nightmare come true. Not only has someone found out his identity, but one of his worst enemies, Green Goblin. And he's also worried about Aunt May hearing and seeing, because she's going to be in shock. She might die. They kept that up for decades. In the MCU, we have a much younger Aunt May now. There she is, kind of looking out, worried about that Peter, he's such a frail young man. Uses his blaster. The sparks. That's cool. He uses a bat missile. He uses like a razor sharp bat. And then they actually bring back one of the older things that he had in Spider-Man 17. Look at the little ghost. Very cool. That's emitting a gas. And he mentions that he used that against the Human Torch. If you look at Amazing Spider-Man 17, you'll see that's this Goblin's second appearance. That has the torch on the cover, because there was a lot of interplay between the Human Torch and the Spider-Man in the early years, because they were both teenagers. So he knocks him out with that a bit. He's strong, so he's got a steel cable he's putting around him. He drags him back to the waterfront. And then, of course, they've always got to talk, and he's going to play on that. So he doesn't just kill him right away, so he can maybe get loose of his bonds. And then he's going to surprise him. Look at this. Take a look, Parker. A good long look. It's the last face Spider-Man will ever see. It's the real face of the Green Goblin, the face of Norman Osborn. Those features, that name, of course, you're related to my own classmate. You're Harry Osborn's father. Spidey saves the day. So that's a very classic panel. So all this time we didn't know who Green Goblin was. And they had just introduced the Harry Osborn, about 6 months or so ago earlier, in issue 31, and when he goes to college. And then we just got, there was cameo of Osborn, because he's in a club with J. Jonah Jameson, and they didn't name him until 37. There's the bullpen bulletins page. They don't have Stan Lee's soapbox yet. That was coming, listing the Merry Marvel Marching Society members. The checklist there, you can see what issues were out. There's the first Gladiator and Daredevil 18. Advertising cool stuff. They already had the Hulk sweatshirt. This was the Thing sweatshirt. Huge 6-foot poster. That's quite collectible. You can find an original one. All of this is collectible. The stationery set, the Spidey t-shirt. They had a whole line of t-shirts. There's the Spider's Web. They're still advertising the MMS, and they have the Thing as the mascot, usually for that. They just got Stair Stand, because there's letters about issues that Ditko did, but he's gone, so they kind of pettily got rid of his name, because he's gone until they get up to the new artists in the few issues, and then they'll say, "Dear Stan and John." And then here's the thing. Perhaps the greatest wrap-up Yarn ever presented. You'll see starting surprise-filled conclusion of the Green Goblin saga as only Mighty Marvel could portray it. We predict the final fate of Mr. Osborn will be one of the most talked about Comic Man bombshells of the year. We'll be looking for you. Spidey will be looking for you. Honest Herb Forbush will be looking for you, so don't keep us up all night. See you next ish, Tiger. Remember, Mary Jane's going to call him Tiger. So that's very cool. A look at a very key issue in Spider-Man. I might send this in to get pressed in CGC. Still not very expensive unless it was in super high grade. And then you can get these for not that much, I believe, loose and raw. I've had this one for a long time. Alrighty, until next time, more Marvel character talk. Thanks for liking and subscribing.